Greetings, planet Earth. My name is Weston Ochse. I've written about 26 books, to include the SEAL Team 666 series and the Grunt Life series. I have been asked by a young student in Florida to answer a few questions regarding my career choice to be a writer. His teacher, Miss James, reached out to me and sent me some of the questions that he wants me to ask. The young man's name is Carter. So without further ado, let me answer these questions as best I can. The first one is, how much education is required for your career? Well, the real answer is none. But I would say more education has helped me. Now, granted, when I first started writing, I had a high school degree. I had a few college classes, but I didn't have any degrees or anything. And I was a pretty good writer. I won a few awards, got paid money, but still there were some issues with my writing. I got my bachelor's degree, and then I ended up getting my Master of Fine Arts degree. And actually, I can tell a marked improvement in my writing from before my fine arts degree until after my fine arts degree. So, how much education is required? I would say as much as you can stomach. I mean, I hate it when pop-up windows pop up and stuff. As much as you can stomach. Second question, where did you go to college? Fits right in. Well, I was in the Army for 20 years, so I went to plenty of colleges. I went to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. I went to Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I went to Methodist College in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I went to the University of Arizona. Just a bunch of colleges. I ended up graduating from Excelsior College of New York, and I received my Master of Fine Arts degree from National University out of San Diego. A typical day at my job is the next question. Wants to know what a typical day at my job is. Well, writers don't look at, okay, some writers do, but this writer doesn't look at um, writing as a day job. You write when you can. You write when you're able. I know that some writers sit down at 7 o'clock and they work on one project till noon. They break for lunch and they work on another project until after. I'm more of a one project guy. Sometimes it takes all day to get the stuff on the page. Sometimes it just takes a little bit. So Tom Piccirilli, a famous author and friend of ours who recently departed, set me down on his virtual knee one time in a internet chat room, and he told me this: when you're running a race, you don't look at the horizon. You look at the ground in front of you. So when you're writing a book, don't look at the end of the book. Look at just the first few pages in front of you. So he said, write 5 pages a day. And if you write 5 pages a day, believe it or not, that's a 90,000 word novel done in 3 months. So I try and get my 5 pages a day in. And then you're going to hate to hear this, but in addition to writing, there's more to it, the business. You have to do promotion. You have to reach out and contact people. You have to do all sorts of things to help your career along. It's not just writing anymore, if it ever was. The fourth question, what do you like most about your career? Doing things like this. I mean, shoot, I've never been somebody's homework before, I don't think. That's kind of cool. I like talking to other students. I like going to libraries and giving talks. I like kind of reaching out and talking to people about writing. I mean, any day I'm talking about writing, any time I'm talking about writing, it's a good time. What do you like least about your career? Least about my career. The waiting. The waiting. It's when you submit something for an anthology, or even worse, when you give something to your agent and your agent sends something to one of the New York publishing houses, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and your agent is emailing them back and forth, calling them, trying to get a response, but you're waiting. That's the part I hate, waiting. And I've never been a patient man either. Question 6. If you wanted to be a writer, what should I do now to prepare? What should you do, Carter? Or anyone that matter? Read. Read as much as you can. Read read the type of books that you like. Like I like science fiction and fantasy and horror. You can read all those books, but also read books outside of that. You want to be as widely read as possible because it trains your mind to become an idea generator. And then look at things, not, how do I say this? Try and look at things differently. Look at things as if they're brand new. You know, whether it's a tree or a beach or a person, look at them as if they're brand new and extrapolate a story about them just in your mind. Quick, boom, where'd that person come from? Um, that's how I sort of got my mind trained to come up with ideas. Your brain is like any muscle. If you want to have big arm muscles, you work out with weights. If you want to have big leg muscles, you do a lot of running. If you want to have a big brain muscle, you got to do a lot of thinking, which includes reading and being creative. So read as much as possible. Now for the individual questions. What are your favorite books? Favorite books. Well, my favorite book of all time is Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. Why, you ask? I can hear you saying why. It's because he was able to establish in that book a sense of awe and a sense of wonder that he captured within his words. Trying to write like that, trying to write so that you have a sense of awe and wonder is so hard. And it was just so effortless, it seemed. By the way, I first read an excerpt of that novel, a short story called The Sound of Summer Running, that was in I want to say our eighth grade English reader. I was supposed to be studying French, I think, but instead I was reading that story. So glad the teacher didn't find out. Probably why I didn't do so well in French either. Which book was your favorite to write? You're straying into dangerous territory here because each of our books is like our children. And when you ask a mother and father, who's your favorite kid? They can't really tell you. And even if they knew, they wouldn't because, what's it going to do to the other kid, right? So, not that my books will get jealous or anything, but each of them was different. Each of them was pretty tremendous. But if you're going to pin me down and you're going to force me to actually tell you which book, probably my first one, Scarecrow Gods. It took the most effort, and with much effort comes great reward, as you know. The harder you try to do something, the harder you work on something, the better you feel when it's all over. And that work also won the Bram Stoker Award for Best First Novel. It was very popular, even though it did not have a huge printing. And the third one, what do you not like about being an author? Again, with the not liking stuff. I don't like to talk about not liking stuff. I like to talk about liking of the stuff because I got to tell you, the liking of the stuff is so much greater than the not liking. As you can tell, I'm trying to stress the positive here because we definitely have to be optimistic. After all, being a writer is a very optimistic endeavor. You believe that you can just sit down at a piece of paper or at a computer and you can create something from scratch out of nothing but the protons and neurons of your mind. That's pretty optimistic. Yet it's done every day. So I think optimism is a very important character trait to have. So enough with this. What do you not like about stuff? I don't want to hear that anymore. Just let's concentrate on what you like. Now, I'll give you some final thoughts as I put some burning right above my head, only because I like it. So, final thoughts. If you want to be a writer, be a writer. What kind of education should you have? I think you'd be better. I think it'd be better if you went to college and you studied the type of English you like to study. Um, my father is classically trained in Shakespeare and British literature, right? I like Shakespeare. I don't like British literature. I think it's really stuffy. No offense to British people, because I have a lot of friends. But I liked American literature. I like I like the stuff that we wrote from the 16th century on up, from Cotton Mather to John Steinbeck. Um, because if you look at British literature and American literature, they're written for different reasons. They're written for different goals and ideals. And I kind of liked the idea of American literature. Um, Additionally, I like detective stories. I like science fiction. I like fantasy, and there are colleges that have classes in those things now, where when I went to college they didn't. In fact, there are colleges that have classes in comic book writing. Fabulous. So my recommendation is that if you do indeed want to go to college and you want to study how to be a writer, or you want to study creative writing, that sort of things, do a lot of research. Find those colleges that are different than the norm. Find the colleges that teach some of the things that you like. Um, because there's nothing greater than to ensconce yourself in a room full of people who think just like you and who want to talk about and are eager to talk about those things that make them excited, those things that make them want to wake up every morning. Okay, my head's starting to get warm, so let me stop that. So I think I've done your homework for you. It's been about 12 minutes of questions and answers. I hope you get an A plus, and I hope one of these days you become an incredible writer. I know I'll definitely read you, Carter. And for Miss James, Deb, we got to see each other soon. Bye.